Hi Group Madrid. My name is Daniel and I'm going to be talking to you about the rights of nature, specifically a case study in which these rights were granted and explicitly recognised. The Wanganui River in New Zealand is the case study I will be focusing on today, exploring the decision that led to this outcome and what this means for the river as well as global precedent. Before we dive into the case study, I'll first talk about what rights of nature are. Historically, the rights of nature have been explicitly overlooked. Western human behavior recognizes land as something to be owned and given a monetary value as property of individuals or systems. This is a traditional mindset where land is something to be sold and traded between two parties. The consequence of this tradition is the legal ways in which the environmental harm occurs. Property rights are those rights granted to individuals, corporations, or other systems that own land or property. These rights dictate what rules you have to follow on the land you own, for example, what resources from the land you can capitalize on. It is these rules that allows for the destruction of land as generally there are a lack of strict legal restrictions in place to protect the environment. Due to these rights, more than 50% of all species on Earth have been driven extinct and climate change is moving at a rapid pace. Western ideals of land ownership have caused this destruction with a limited view on the natural environment. It is seen as a commodity rather than its own unique and important system. Anthropocentrism is one of the theories that contributes to this point of view on land. Humans believe we are superior to everything else in the natural world, existing to rule and own all other resources. It is the belief of a human-centered system, with a theory dictating that natural resources and natural capital are based on the value that nature provides to humanity rather than on its intrinsic value. This theory leads to the creation of laws, which thus leads to the destruction of the environment as the law is presently. The law facilitates economics, and the perpetual growth of the global economy currently relies on the available land to continue building and increasing infrastructure. Our current economic paradigm is based on the key concept that the value of nature exists in what it can provide to humanity. Rights of nature, however, involve recognizing ecosystems as their own natural entities that are independent with the right to exist as such. Laws that recognize the rights of nature successfully change the status of ecosystems to right-bearing beings. This is a step towards ecocentrism, which is the belief that humankind should live in harmony with the environment, treating it as equal. These laws recognize that the ecosystem is a complex system that are entitled to rights just as humans are. They aim to balance what is good for the human race with what is good for the natural world, including species and the overall health of the planet. By treating the environment with respect, we should cause less damage to the ecosystem, allowing all life forms to exist in peace. Indigenous cultures have had a deep connection with the earth for millennium. Many recognize the inherent benefits that a symbiotic relationship with nature provides. They traditionally live in harmony with nature, making decisions and holding values that benefit both their community and the ecosystem in which they live.
Yep.
Maori are a
I have
people
to
that have
film a
had an
presentation.
important connection with the New Zealand land
I'm
and
filming
have
a
looked to the
presentation.
environment to sustain their lives for generations. New Zealand's Wanganui River was the first river globally to be granted legal rights, recognizing it as a person. This grants the river power to be represented in court, where it is represented by two guardians who speak on its behalf. It was granted this right in 2017. However, the road to legality was one that started in the 1800s when the British began colonizing New Zealand. This meant that the water, the riverbed, and the air surrounding the river were all treated under different laws. To Maori, however, the river was a single entity that could not be owned. It was their source of food, their single highway, their spiritual mentor. As the British continued to take land, they started gradually destroying the river, operating a steamer, and destroying old fishing weirs that Maori had used for generations.
Since the colonizers started damaging the river, Maori have been fighting for its rights. The battle for litigation has been ongoing since 1870, when Maori urged the local colonial government to uphold their customary rights. However, before that, the Waitangi Treaty was signed in 1840, when Maori chiefs came to an agreement with the Queen of England, recognising traditional ownership of the land.
In 1975, the government established the Waitangi Tribunal. By this time, the river was already damaged, with fish being depleted and the river being polluted from sewage discharge. However, Maori of all ages spoke at the tribunal, highlighting the cultural importance that the river held in the community. It was a source of livelihood that had been damaged, thus damaging the people that depended on it. The settlement of claims between Maori communities and the New Zealand government led finally to the introduction of the Te Awa Tupua Act 2017. The river was finally recognized as an indivisible and living whole, comprising the Wanganui River from the mountains to the sea, incorporating all its physical and metaphysical elements. In the time since the river was granted rights, it has taken time for the shift to become effective. For example, the government implemented plans to introduce a new bicycle bridge over the river, but the Guardians were not consulted. They didn't support the decision, but also did not want to kick up a fuss as they want to be part of the community and respected. Most importantly, people's relationship with the river has improved, and there has been tangible changes in people's attitudes towards the river and the overall environment in New Zealand. Organ- Many environmental law experts see the Wanganui River as a shift in environmental rights. Experts see the need to change standard westernized thinking of nature to embrace knowledge and cultural thinking about the ecosystem to battle the many threats brought upon by climate change, such as rising sea levels. A water law expert from the University of Melbourne believes that legal personnel could help with environmental protection. Although I have focused on the Wanganui River today, I think it is vital to recognize that other world states have been implementing nature rights into their own federal legal systems as well. Ecuador is an example of this, where the people amended their constitution to recognize the inherent rights of nature. Additionally, Bolivia has passed the Law of the Rights of Mother Earth that provides these nature rights. However, the question on enforcement arises when looking at these legal amendments. Although they have been ratified in law, there is still a lack of specific enforcement mechanism. Without an enforcement agency, nature will continue to be damaged. Furthermore, more states have to follow the lead of these examples and continue to ratify nature rights into their domestic laws to allow for the environment to be better protected. In summary, the Wanganui River is a clear example of a natural entity gaining legal recognition and receiving rights. I think it is vital to consider the natural world when thinking about rights and what constitutes something deserving of so. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation, and I hope it has been informative for you all.